Hey y'all, welcome to Lamb Living. My name is Holly and this is Dolly. This is Dolly Parton. She has joined our family. It seems perfect because I was able to go and meet the real Dolly Parton this past March with my family. We went up to Pigeon Forge and met her. It was such a thrill. She's just a wonderful, wonderful person, as you would expect her to be. So when the post from the Nassau Humane Society came up and the introduction was Meet Dolly Parton, it was perfect. We lost Toby, our dog of 13 years, last summer. And so we went down to Fernandina Beach, which is Amelia Island in North Florida. And we met Miss Dolly Parton and fell in love instantly. She's a mix of dachshund and probably some, I don't know, lab, maybe a little pit bull. It's hard to say. I think she's got a little Jack Russell in her as well. She has a little triangular face and she just loves everybody. Here she is meeting Aaron. This is my oldest. Yeah, he had to come over and meet her. Yes. And she just loves her backyard. And of course, Kevin loves her too. And this is her first time in the house. Yeah, there she is. We've gotten her toys and she just tears them to shreds. I know you probably have dogs that do the same thing, but oh boy, I'm always picking up fluff everywhere. Here she is meeting Hope. Hope came over to meet her as well. So now she's met everybody. I don't have a picture of her meeting Chandler. Chandler's very tall, so he kind of intimidates her a little bit, but she just wiggles her little behind every time she's happy, and it's so exciting to have her meet me at the door when I come home from school each day. So that's what's happening around here. I'm very happy that she's here. I'll show you some more pictures of her in just a little while in the video. But we're going to go ahead and get started with a Lazy Susan that I tried to take the writing off. It was from Dollar General. I got it on a 90% off sale. I might have gotten it for a penny. I don't know. It's one of my supreme clearances from DG. And I used some nail polish remover and a razor and got that little bit off. And it was just way too much work. So I decided I would do a decoupage with it. I covered it in 2 coats of plaster. And then, have you seen all the summer stuff? If you haven't seen these napkins, they've been out for years and they're back out in the stores. And so I bought a couple of extra packs and I just love this size and it was perfect. And I just naturally want to go to the lemons. And the lemon border wasn't great. I got out another one thinking maybe they were different, but they were exactly the same. And then when I put this lime out and saw that little bit of yellow and the green and the watermelon's pretty too, love the watermelon, but the lime was really speaking to me. So this is what we're going to use on this Lazy Susan. Yeah, I'm going to use my heat gun there and just get rid of some of those creases from the folds. Now these Dollar Tree napkins are almost always 2-ply, so you just have to get rid of the one layer, which is easy and very nice. I'm going to use just regular matte Mod Podge for this. This is my Decoupage medium of choice. And of course you can get that at the Dollar Tree, but it's a little bit cheaper if you buy it at Walmart. But those little, I refill those little squirt bottles. They are handy to have for this kind of project. So I'm going to do it half and half, and I'm using a dry brush on top, and I'm just pouncing it down. I'll get a few wrinkles, but that's going to go away in just a little while, and I'll show you how I'll get it nice and smooth. And I'm just doing regular decoupage. And then I'll put the rest down. Now, it was pretty close to the same size as this Lazy Susan. I am going to do a little bit of piecing. You can see on that one side, there's a little bit of the plaster paint showing on the top, and so I don't want that. So this, now I am using my Mod Podge and I'm making sure to get a nice top coat. It's the bottom, I just finished it. It's still wet. I want those 2 wet Mod Podge layers to meet. And then when it dries, I won't have any bubbles. I won't have any, dry spots that'll kind of pop up. if you get those, you can pop them with a very sharp knife, or like some kind of pokey pin, or a Cricut tool, weeding tool. You can pop those and then put a little bit of heat on it, and then put a little Mod Podge in the hole, and then that can fix it. But this is the way I choose to do it. I like to do it when it's wet, put another layer, and just let the wet meet the wet, and it'll dry beautifully. And then I'm going to come back with 3 layers of super matte Mod Podge. I don't want to gloss on this. Here comes the super matte, and this is truly a matte finish, and it will not show brush strokes. It's self-leveling. There we go. And I painted the edges. And I will do 3 coats, and I would have done a 4th, but the 3rd coat did it. And it's nice and smooth. And so if you get any wrinkles in that first layer, don't worry. There it is. It's all nice and smooth. Yep. And just put your top coats on. And if you use the matte Mod Podge, the yellow label, it will have a little bit of a sheen to it. It's not truly matte, but the super matte is perfect. And I love it. I love how that turned out. Okay, now we're back at the Dollar Tree, and have you seen the Mother's Day displays? So many cute things for tiered trays, and those neat mirrors. These little containers, but these picture frames were new this year, I do believe. I don't remember them last year or years before. And so I picked up a few of these. I thought they were beautiful. I love the ornate style to them, but they were a little bit too white for me. My decorating at my house, everything is a little bit more on the ivory side. So all I'm going to do to these frames, I like the gold on them, but it looked a little bit, I don't know, it just wasn't my style on the white. And I don't know, maybe it just because I was holding it. They are plastic. They don't look plastic, but maybe because I was holding it, I thought they looked plastic. They don't. They look beautiful. I love these. But I'm just going to fill it full of this Waverly White Wax, which of course has an ivory cast to it. And then I'm going to lightly just kind of buff it off and make sure there's no brush strokes. And you can see the difference there. And you'll see it on my hutch in a minute in the dining room. It's the perfect color. That there's nothing wrong with that white. That just may be your thing, that white with the gold. I love, but it just for my decor and for my hutches, both really, the one in the living room and the one in the dining room, they both have an ivory cast to them. Okay, now I'm gonna save to my photos on my app. I'm going to save from the Graphics Fairy, and I'm going to show you how I do this. I do this all the time. I think I did it in my last video too. But I go to the Graphics Fairy, and I usually go from their newsletters. They send out lots of beautiful links. And so I've found these beautiful fruit-themed graphics, and I just save them, and then I print from my phone. It's just super easy. That's 4x6. There we go. And we're just sending that to my color printer. And the Friday freebie email is great. If you are not signed up for their free newsletter, that would be something you'd want to go ahead and do. And I'll put the link to, I'm not affiliated with them at all. I just love the Graphics Fairy. And their Friday freebie email has lots of links. There's the strawberry one, but I'm going down to the bottom of this link, and there it is. Before they start the comments, there's all kinds of other links to graphics. So I'm just going to the Apple graphics. I'm trying to pick out different ones. And honestly, this Apple graphic that I pick out, it really looks like peaches to me. So I'm saying this is peaches. You just wait till you see it. There it is. I think that looks like a peach to me. So that's the one I'm going to choose, but I'm just looking. They have coloring book options where you can watercolor. There's, strawberries, cherries, what else? Pears. I printed out a pear. Okay, so you touch it, and then you hold your finger on it for a second in the app and save it to your photos. And there it is. But now I'm going to go one step farther, and I'm going to use my Waterlog app. Right there. There's the Waterlog app, and it'll make everything look watercolor. So I'm going to my photos in the Waterlog app, and I'm going to look at some of the different and select some of the different washes of the watercolor. And if I like one, I will choose to save it. The little square there on the right. Oh, I'm looking. And I usually save a couple of them so I have choices. But when I find one that I like, I'll touch the little square down there on the right, and I'll save it to photos. There's all kinds of washes. I just love this app that will change any graphic. And you can put in just pictures of yourself and your family, and it'll make it look like a watercolor photo or, you know, watercolor painting. It's so cool. I just really enjoy this app. All right. And there it goes. I'm sending it to my color printer. I'm printing them out in 4x6. There's lots of choices of sizes. And so here it comes, and we did some cherries. I did those pears. And there's the strawberries, and I accidentally printed those twice, so I have an extra graphic. And I'm just using cardstock. This is just cardstock from Walmart, the kind of off-white cardstock. Yeah. So I'm going to use the glass and get them cut out and put in the frames, and it's just that easy. And that's all I'm going to do to these frames. Now these frames would look beautiful if you painted them black, or you could paint them a specific color. A dark green would be pretty, but I loved them the way they were. Just wanted them a little bit more ivory, and that white wax from Waverly is the perfect tinge of ivory that I needed. And that was just a simple flip. Yeah, with some prints from the Graphics Fairy and from the Waterlog app. These 4x6 frames were great and turned out real pretty, and just the perfect color and shade for my hutch here. I love those pears. So pretty. And the pretty cherries. What a beautiful frame. I hope you were able to grab some of those. My Dollar Tree is out. Somebody really loved them as well. Okay, now we're going to move over to the Dollar General now. And Dollar General has some gorgeous signs, some leaners out for $5. I was also able to find them at Pop Shelf. You know, Dollar General owns Pop Shelf. And I was expecting to be more expensive at Pop Shelf, but nope, they were $5. So I picked up this one with the pretty strawberries, and it had a little gnome girl down at the bottom with a strawberry hat. And I'm not a gnome fan, so I'm going to cover that up. And I wasn't exactly sure what I was going to put down there, if I was going to print out a graphic and do a little decoupage, or if I was going to, you know, do some molds or some stamps. The latest IOD release had a mold that I'm going to be using with strawberries and raspberries, and so that's what I decided to use. I decided to go ahead and pounce on the plaster, not just where the gnome was, but it had a kind of weathered, aged look to it. Look at around the writing. See that grayish look around the writing? So that annoyed me, and I didn't like it at all. I was trying to get close to the letters, but it just didn't look right. So I decided I would go ahead and go right up on the letters, and I'm going to fix that in here in a few minutes. And I'm just going to make it all the one shade of plaster, which is my white of choice. And I'm going to go on all the slats, and I was trying to get up around those cute little airbrushed strawberries, but these signs are obviously airbrushed, and I just couldn't get close enough. It just wasn't going to look right, so I decided to go a different way. And definitely a great way to upcycle these MDF signs is to paint the sides. You know, nobody wants to see that MDF showing through on the sides. And so while I was at the Dollar General, I bought this one, but at the Pop Shelf, I went ahead and picked up the one with the bumblebees on it, because I thought that was darling, little welcome sign. And I put that in my foyer, and I definitely needed to fix the edging, because that MDF is awful looking, just icky. So while I was at Pop Shelf, I picked up some Posca pens, and I got this black one. And I'm going to simply, I didn't want to get any paint on the front because I didn't want to have to repaint it. This airbrushing that they've used, I wasn't going to be able to match. And so I just used this Posca pen, went right up to the edge, and I found that if I came at it from the back, it was really easy just to let that pen follow that, edge of the front. And I did not get any on the front. And if you do, you can wipe these off real fast. Now, I did not look well enough when I grabbed this one. This one had some damage on the front from these little hangers. Does anyone, you tell me in the comments, does anyone hang these on the wall? These are great little leaners, but I never hang these. And so I always end up taking those off because I don't want to scratch my wall. And so it had a little damage, but I was able to get it out. Pretty much. It has that weathered look anyway. Thankfully, I was leaving this one with that weathered look. And look how pretty that looks with that black edge. Perfect. Perfect for my little foyer there. All right, so back to the Home Sweet Home sign. I'm going to use that same Posca pen, and I am going to, outline these letters. And I found that if I just go kind of quickly on the edges, it keeps it nice and smooth. I don't get wiggly lines. If I do it quickly and then fill it in, then kind of make my own coloring book there. These Posca pens were only $4 at Pop Shelf. I thought that was a really good buy. Unless you buy a big pack of them, they can be a whole lot more expensive than that. I thought that was a pretty good deal. Sometimes Pop Shelf, I think, is a little pricey on some things, but I go in there all the time. I love it. I love Pop Shelf. You can always find good bargains and really pretty things. Okay, so here I'm taking off the back. I always do of these leaners. I don't hang these at all. I don't know. You tell me if you've ever hung these. I mean, I guess they would be great. You'd have to have a pretty big wall. These are big. All right, so I am going to go ahead and paint the back because I typically make these two-sided since I take off those hangers. But I just don't like something unfinished. So I'm going to go ahead and use just this apple barrel white that I need to get rid of anyway. It's starting to dry up. Okay, so I'm now going to be using this $3 Model Magic. It's a 4-ounce pack, so $3 for a 4-ounce pack is a pretty good deal. If I don't finish a bag, I'll double bag it. Did you notice that I had that in 2 baggies? And it stays just fine. So I had used it, I don't know, the week before, and then I double bagged it, and it's just fine. Now, normally I would mold these. Now, of course, you always put cornstarch in if you're using clay. You don't use cornstarch if you're using resin. You can just put it straight into these IOD molds. This is the, what was that, Wild Berries? Is that the name of this one? I'll put it in the description box. But I get my IOD supplies from Deborah down at Cottle and Gun in St. Mary's, Georgia. And I'll have her link down there as well. But there's lots of IOD suppliers and wholesalers, or retailers, excuse me. And but they are getting ready to come out with a summer collection. I'm going to have to really, really control myself. I was real good in the spring collection. I only got a few things. And, but I did get this one. I thought it was great. And I'm so glad I'm using it. You're going to love how these turn out on this sign. But they have strawberries, lots of little ones, and then they have 2 big molds. And so I cast one of each of the big ones. They have a big mold of strawberries, their flowers and big leaves, and then of the raspberries, their flowers and big leaves. And then I cast lots of the little single ones. So it comes with a lot, it really does. Now this Model Magic, if I find if I work this enough, I really stretch and pull, which I did a lot the first time I used this one. And you saw me doing it again. It will come out without freezing them. But if you're having trouble getting out your clay, put it in the freezer for about 5 minutes and then they'll come right out. But my problem with that, look at that strawberry. My problem with that is I can't glue them right away because they have to come back to room temperature and you're going to get some condensation. And so my glue won't work as well if it's wet, you know, if it's gotten wet as it's coming back to temperature. So, you know, it just kind of depends on, I live here in the south, here in the coastal Georgia, so we have a lot of moisture in the air, so I have to wait. And I didn't want to wait. I was being impatient this night, so I went ahead and unmolded and cast these as, you know, no freezer necessary. And I find that this Model Magic is stretchy enough. If I work it enough, it'll come right out, even when they're soft. And these are great. I love Model Magic. They do great. I did get, as they dried, I did have a little bit of cracking, but I was able to, either with the paint or with the white wax we're going to use in just a little bit. We're going to use, oh goodness, I can't think of the name of the white wax we're going to use. When I see the can, I'll be able to tell you, but off the top of my head, I tell you, going through chemotherapy for 6 months, I do have what chemo brain is a real thing. Sometimes I just can't recall things. Now, I've put a list of these Acryology acrylic paints from the Dollar Tree, the colors, those right there, that I use to paint my molds. And I just kind of did these watercolor style. I have water in that kind of, it looks empty, but it's got water in it. And then I'm just putting a nice wash of color on these molds. I want them to be bright though, so I'm not putting too much water, because first of all, I don't want them to drip down onto the surface of the sign, and but just enough to kind of spread the paint nicely. I like that Acryology acrylic paint line. It's I find it to be really good acrylic paints, and I can open one up and use it, and then use it 4-5 months later, and it's just fine. You know, it's just fine. It just has a nice shelf life. So I'm making them nice and bright because I am going to be using Annie Sloan. Just came to me. Annie Sloan white wax, which is true white wax, not like the Waverly that has the ivory cast. It's true white wax. So if you do get any cracking in your casts, it will, you know, that fills it in, and it's no problem. Yeah, I'm making my strawberries nice and bright red, and those raspberries, I'm kind of mixing the red and the purple, and so pretty. I just love the way they look. I can't wait for you to see them. So there we go. Just a little bit of purple, the violet and the scarlet, I believe, are the two colors I'm using there. And aren't those cute? Look at that little raspberry. I looked up the flowers for the bottom of the sign, because there's flowers for both the raspberries and the strawberries. And the raspberries, they sometimes have white flowers, but sometimes they have kind of a purple flower, so I went with that. And then the flowers on the strawberries are white with yellow centers, so I went ahead and put the yellow centers in there. I think I just used maize chalk paint. I had the maize Waverly chalk paint out for my centers there. Now I wanted to show you some pictures, some more pictures of Miss Dolly, and I was going to show you back here. Here she is. Hi, baby. Back here in Kevin's garden, we've got tons of flowers. That's cucumber flowers. Those are yellow. And this is when we first got Dolly, and she was first getting into everything back there. There's his leaves he was using for mulch. She likes to get into stuff. She acts like a puppy. They told us that she was 3.5, but I don't know. She acts like a puppy. She rips up stuff like she is just a baby. And she just loves being outside. But Kevin's garden has just gone crazy. We've had couple weeks with some pretty heavy thunderstorms, and we've got cucumbers galore and tomatoes coming out of there. Oh gosh, we're just loving it. Kevin is quite the farmer, and he loves to go out there with, or Dolly loves to go out there with Kevin in the afternoons. Okay, so before I white wax, I want to spray my acrylic paint and, you know, seal it. There we go. There's Annie Sloan. That's the white wax. There it is. It is white. And I don't want to get anything. If I do get a little bit of this paint while I'm waxing, I don't want to get it in my can. So I always kind of chunk out a big bunch of the wax onto something. I've got it on a paper towel there. And I really load up those molds. I just load it up with the white wax, and then I'll take a clean brush and kind of spread things around. There I am. That's with the wax brush. Really loading it up in there. And then this is with a clean brush. There we go. There's the clean brush. I'm just spreading it nice and thin so I can, just doing a nice kind of swirling motion, and then I'm lightly bringing back the color. I don't want to take the wax off totally, because I want that, kind of wash. And I'm going to end up using those that paper towel. That's just clean, dry paper towel. I'm going to end up putting it over the whole thing so it has a nice finish. Not very thick over the lettering, but again, this is sealed with that Rust-Oleum Matte Clear, so I'm not going to get any smearing, and I'm just putting it over the whole sign so it's finished. And that's pretty much it. I'm going to give you some close-up looks at some of these precious little raspberries and strawberries. Here we go. Home sweet home. I just love that with these sweet little fruit. Perfect for summer. And we'll kind of zoom in here and you'll see white wax, I think, just makes everything looks magical. I know. In this video, I'm showing you two different kind of waxes. This wax is a lot thicker than the Waverly, and I love the Waverly, don't get me wrong, but look at that white wax. That is so pretty, and it looks so good on that plaster chalk paint. I just love the way that looks. I hope you've enjoyed watching my projects today and meeting my little Dolly Parton. And she has certainly brought joy, joy, joy to this house. She's my welcoming committee when I come home. There she is. She's always around. She's become my little shadow. Look at that pretty face. Mercy. What a good girl. Thank you so much for watching. I so appreciate you making it to the end. And if you are not subscribed to my channel, I would love for you to subscribe to my channel, hit that like button, and come back. I want to read from Colossians 3:14, and above all these, put on love, which binds everything together in perfect harmony. And my little Dolly Parton has made our home, given us a beautiful harmony, like my Toby did. This house is full of love. God bless, and I hope to see you next time.